Hi, Weather Joey here with your bottom of the South Island weather recap and weather forecast going out to you folks in the future. Loved ones that I don't know, never will, but I love ya. And to all my friends in the here and the now, the spirits, the beings, the ancestors who dwell, reside, and visit in this part of the world. Going out to you on Monday, January 9th, 2023, second forecast of the year. We got lots going on that I want to get to because this whole beautiful coast here is being affected in good ways and not so good ways. But before we get to that, I'd like to take this opportunity, as always, to thank and acknowledge the first peoples of this land, the first peoples, the First Nations, for allowing us to live, work, and play and exist on their beautiful traditional territories. My people did not come from here, they came from over here. We were allowed to come here and exist here. In fact, I'm going to get into a little bit about my great-great-grandfather coming to this part in a second. But anyway, many thanks to you and your people. So, last Tuesday, was it? The 3rd? Yeah, I think it was the 3rd Tuesday. Yeah, the 3rd. We put out a forecast talking about this switch and this trend of storms coming up from the southwest, and indeedly do it did. Lots of rain. So really, since that southwest flow started at the just around the 24th, Christmas time, that sort of area. Remember we talked about a system going through there. Anyway, Northern California, San Francisco has been in its wettest stretch on record since the Civil War era of the United States. That was back in 1862. So since January 1862, and in fact, that was 2 months before my great-great-grandfather came from Ontario through the Panama. We talked a little bit about this before. And up by a ship up the west coast, landed in San Francisco in, I think, around the March of 1862, on his way up into Esquimalt, Victoria, and on up to the Cariboo Gold Rush. So, he probably saw some things having to do with that rain at that time. But anyway, San Francisco is indeed, and they continue to get rain. So let's get into how this transpired. Started on the 3rd with a fairly weak system, just spinning up to the west-southwest here. And all these systems are tracking up the coast and causing a lot of rain to flush across here. And they kind of come across California, Oregon, and sweep up from the southwest, the south, across the south coast. So just a sprinkling of rain on that 3rd. In behind, as the system went above, in behind we saw a little dry stretch, but the real doozy was this strong system offshore California, spinning up, coming up the coast too, following this track. It spun up on the 4th, came up here on the 5th, really drenched the whole coast there on the 4th, the 5th, hammered them with waves and swell on high tides on the 5th and 6th. We had a break on the 4th, but a southerly flow brought rain later on the 4th into the 5th as this system tracked up the coast into the 5th. On into the 6th, rain continued as the next system developed more off the Oregon coast. This still a strong system again. Rain continued into the 6th and on into the 7th as this one tracked up. Let's just double check that. Yeah, wet southerly flow as this onto the 7th as this one tracked up. You'll see the record. So we had fairly mild weather on, I think, by the 5th and into the 6th as these systems went by, even into the 7th. But the Alpine didn't get as affected as we thought it would. It stayed cool enough for snow, so really no big impact on the snowpack. Yes, further down it did, but still maintaining their snowpack nicely and building up a bit of water reserves up here, and definitely some water reserves. So the impact down here is we're looking at flooding, but we're also looking at the sort of going towards or getting addressing the drought situation that's been in California for the last 3 or 4 years, I think. So good news for them, bad news for coastal situations. We'll continue to watch that because let's see, we're on the 7th. By the 8th, another fairly strong system, following the same sort of track, tracking off, spinning up off the Oregon coast and going up our coast, keeping the flow from the south. More rain for the 8th, a little break overnight into today, which is the 9th, and then another system coming in, spinning up kind of all around this whole system. We're not seeing any high pressure. We'll get into that. But another one for the 9th, and this looks like today we're going to get into rain later on today and on into Tuesday the 10th. Yes. So still showery on into Tuesday. Should back off Tuesday through the day, which is the 10th, and keep dry into the 11th. However, we got another strong system well offshore this time. It looks like it's going to be pumping moisture later on the day in the 11th, Wednesday the 11th, up from the south again. This is a little bit cooler, not quite as mild as these systems are developing off here and not drawing too much up from there, but still above seasonal. We're still okay for the snowpack, it looks like. Drawing moisture up later on the 11th and into the 12th. And it looks like this will continue on into the 13th, which is the Friday, and into the 14th as this comes down here, continues to sort of circulate up that. It's endless. Now, is it endless? Not totally endless. Right now, it looks like this flow pattern will start to shift a little bit, we're hoping, to the west-southwest. So systems out here more so, bringing flow in from the west-southwest into the 15th, 16th, early into next week. A little bit cooler, but still quite wet. We've got no sign of high pressure developing over here, which generally keeps the systems up north. So Oregon, California, looks like there'll still be room for lots of moisture from these systems to continue to hit that coast. So we'll be watching that for more rain and moisture down there. Probably a lot of snow in the hills down there, so Sierra Nevada. So interesting situation, my friends. I mean, this is all beautiful country, but this is, it's so diverse. So I'm looking forward to going down there someday soon. I might take the nephews down there. Go on a little road trip. But yeah, interesting times. Interesting times in January 2023. Hope you're doing well out there in the future, and I'm always thinking of you in the here and now. And as always, may the forecast be with you.